Welcome back, everyone. Pal Ponder on Weather here. Hope everyone is having a safe and happy holidays and spending time with the family. We have an atmospheric river that we're going to be talking about that with relentless storms coming in off the west coast, but we also have some severe storms that keeps gaining in intensity as we're going to be starting the new year on a bumpy ride with a multiple day event, it looks like. So let's take a look at the overall setup going forward, and you can actually see that Arctic front. It's actually all the way out here into Mexico. It's not any colder air any longer, but that thing made it all the way down into the Yucatan. It's still bringing some showers and thunderstorms. All that colder air has now lifted back up into the Arctic in complements of this warm front that came through across portions of the south, and now it's lifted all the way up into Michigan. But out west, it's all about the atmospheric river, as we'll have relentless storms coming off the west coast, adding to those multiple inches of rainfall, and a flash flood threat is a huge concern. So let's break this thing down for you over the next 7 days. So what we're going to be seeing is the slow transition of much warmer conditions. That's why we're even talking about severe weather. We'll have multiple troughs come in off the west coast with that atmospheric river out west, but then once you hit the midsection of the country, tap it into the warm sector, that's where you're going to have instability to work with and severe storms as we head into the new year. So if you are new to the channel and like detailed weather breakdowns on North America, hit the subscribe button and you're in. You get all my daily content on this channel, and I would love to reach 150,000 followers by the end of the year. So we have a lot to talk about. Let's delve into the details heading into this morning, into the afternoon time frame. That severe threat will be over portions of Louisiana and Mississippi. It's a marginal threat, but we still could be looking at some smaller to larger hail at times. And an isolated spin-up tornado is definitely not out of the question down here, especially in the warm sector further south you live. But once you head northbound into Tennessee, that's just transferring into some moderate rain and then heading up into Illinois as well as Indiana. But out west, it's all about the heavier rain pummeling the coastline into Washington and Oregon and Northern California, San Francisco, San Jose, Napa Valley. All those areas are going to get pounded this week with very heavy rainfall. And then it's the snow and the Intermountain West. All those ski lovers are really going to be enjoying this fresh snowpack, and you're going to be adding to those totals in a big way. I know Boulder picked up about 10 inches the other day. They're going to be adding to those totals as well. So as we transfer into the day on Saturday, that threat just shifts a little bit further east. Again, it's more of an isolated threat, but we still could be looking at some marginal induced stronger to some severe thunderstorms heading into portions of the Florida Panhandle into Georgia area. That'll creep into portions of the Carolinas, and then moderate rain into portions of eastern Tennessee, extending through Kentucky there, all the way up into the Ohio Valley, extending into the mid-Atlantic and portions of Pennsylvania. But again, more rain coming in off the west coast, and then more snow for the interior regions as this pushes just a little bit further off to the east. That's on your New Year's Eve day, going into New Year's Day and heading into the second of the month. We're going to be watching this significant trough that's going to be diving in out west, and this is going to be pretty potent, guys. This has a pretty well-defined synoptic setup with it. We've been going to be in the warm sector for several days, so it's going to be tapping into that energy that's been building up in your atmosphere, and with that clash, that's going to spell trouble in the form of severe storms. So let's highlight this atmospheric river. I mean, this is pretty impressive, but you don't get to see this map very often. This extends all the way until I don't know where. There's no end in sight, with multiple low pressure centers. Let's count them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I mean, it's just a conveyor belt of moisture hitting the west coast one after another with those flood watches in place. But once we get into the midsection of the country, look at the jet, right? It definitely splits. it splits, but then once it hits the Gulf, it's going to pick up some of that moisture associated with it. South wind, southwest wind, that lift aloft, boom, that spells trouble with severe storms. They're going to outbreak into the Dallas-Fort Worth area, into the Tulsa, Oklahoma area, then shift eastbound, headed into Louisiana and to Arkansas. To the north, we're going to have a formidable low pressure forming as well, down to a 968 on the initiation. We're going to have some icy threat is a huge concern as well, but then the heavier snows fall to the northwest and the western side of this low pressure center. So look at the dew points. I mean, look at the map. This is January 2nd, guys. If someone told me this was April, I would probably believe them. But no, it's January 2nd because we're looking at dew points in the 70s. That is insanely hot, warm in winter, right? I mean, 66 a dew point in Oklahoma. That's why we're talking about severe weather, guys, because we've got all this warm sector to tap into. The atmosphere is plenty moist. You're going to have a lot of lift aloft, and that spells trouble with severe storms. That's going to increase the instability as well with these CAPE values and creeping up into the 2000 range. So definitely concerned about severe storms as we head into Monday afternoon into the evening time frame with the initiation, I feel, into the Dallas-Fort Worth area. This is the Storm Prediction Center already highlighting this far out that slight risk for severe storms. And like I thought, they did actually shift it a little bit further off to the west, which was what the Colorado State University, which was implying the other day. So now I'm looking at initiation for storms to develop into the afternoon, evening time frame in and along the Dallas-Fort Worth area, right on the outskirts of Oklahoma City into Tulsa, but especially as you head into the Tyler, into the Lufkin area, getting into the Shreveport area, into Greenville, into Little Rock, Arkansas, all the way up into Memphis, Tennessee, into Jackson. And this actually could extend all the way up into Kentucky as well, for sure. This is a pretty big expansion of the slight risk, even this far out. So that's why the ensembles of all the models, the global models, are definitely hinting at it. This could be a big event, and not just a one-day wonder. It's a multiple-day event, because look at the Colorado State University map showing that shift out to west. The initiation should be in and along the Dallas-Fort Worth area, through the Oklahoma City area, shifted off into Tulsa. But definitely the highest concern with this particular setup is down here into the Arklatex here. And we've seen this before. This is where we've seen several tornado outbreaks, unfortunately, and you could be looking at another hit in this same exact area, and then shifting all the way up into portions of western Tennessee, even western Kentucky, and we can't even rule out portions of Illinois and Indiana as we get into the day on Monday. And that threat, I think, just expands as we go into Tuesday, with the dew points surging with that warm front lifting. We're talking mid dew points, and all the way in the mid 50 dew points, all the way into Michigan. That is insane stuff, especially when you were talking about that Arctic air mass of like these 40 below wind chill warnings and advisories and frostbite in 10 minutes. It's completely the opposite. I mean, the atmosphere has did a complete 180, and we're talking about severe weather just 7 days later. So that's what's on the table. The atmosphere says, hey, it's prime with this synoptic setup for severe storms. Not just Monday, not just Tuesday, but going into Wednesday too. These could be on the lesser variety, but still have some marginal risk associated with it, even into portions of Georgia. So you're going to get that set up into Georgia on Tuesday. That could extend to the overnight hours heading into Wednesday morning along the coast here, creeping up into Virginia, into West Virginia. So I'm definitely looking at a multiple day event setting up to begin the new year. And then what's concerning is all the bulk shear that's going to be setting up shop at the lower levels. So the atmosphere will be rotating. So the biggest concern with this setup, unfortunately, is tornadoes and your damaging winds. You're going to have a hail threat. You're still going to have all three modes, but I feel like the most concerning threat will be this tornadic setup that's going to be unfolding with the damaging winds with this particular setup. So, and there's also a snow threat too. So on the northwest side of there, the initiation, we're going to have that icy threat as well. So this could be a damaging ice storm as we get into the day on Monday, heading into Tuesday morning. But just to the northwest of there, west of there, is going to be your heavier snows that should break out into Colorado and to portions of Wyoming there, as well as Nebraska, getting into South Dakota. Those extend into northern portions of Iowa and Minnesota. All to the south is all that rain and that severe storms. And as we head into Tuesday, there's the gradient with that ice storm really setting up with that formidable low pressure center just really deepening by then, with the heavier snows cranking on the northwest side, with all those 1 to 2 inch snowfall rates is definitely not out of the question with all the severe stuff on the southern side of this. And as we transfer into Wednesday, again, I think it's going to be downgraded to more of a marginal risk. But we still going to be looking at, because you're still technically in the warm sector, we are going to have a cold front that's going to be clearing the runway with this. You see, once the cold front moves through, it's severe clear on the backside. It's pretty clear. So that's going to be your signal. Hey, once that cold front moves through your neighborhood, you can send the all signal out and say, hey, we're done, right? But out west, you're not done. It's going to be relentless systems like I showed you with the atmospheric river, with multiple systems slamming the west coast. You're going to be really adding to these totals and adding to the snows up here into the mountain regions and the Intermountain West. They're going to be picking up significant snow. So this is definitely will help out with the drought and the lake levels. Let's take a look at some of these rainfall totals. And this is just between now and Tuesday, right? So we're looking at maybe 3 or 4 inches in Santa Rosa, 4 to 6 in Sacramento, 3 to 4 in San Francisco, all the way down to San Jose, getting into Big Sur. I mean, this is welcome, healthy range, 2.3, 2 to 3 inches all the way into Fresno. And that just extends even to the central and southern California as well. And that's just through Tuesday. And we're going to be obviously adding to those totals beyond Tuesday. But what's going to happen is on Thursday is that cold front will move through. It's not Arctic, but it's enough to clear the atmosphere and wipe out the warm sector and bring in the much cooler conditions and the much more stable air as well. So we can send a sigh of relief once we get past the day on Wednesday, heading into Thursday morning. Things are really going to be calming down for a good part of the country. The only instability will be by then is out west in the West Coast. So what's happening is the transition, right? We're starting to see the beginning stages of finally the La Nina is losing its grip. We've been locked in this La Nina since 2020, right? 3 years. We're still going to have what they call a triple dip La Nina. But we already seeing those signs, right? With the atmospheric river coming back into play, the jet streams dropping a little bit, the subtropical jet's going to be tapping into some of that energy. So by the time we get into February, the Enso neutral could be your predominant pattern. And then I think once we head into the summer months, we're going to be talking about an El Nino. And even then, I think this actually gets pulled up a little bit closer towards spring. So the significance of this is once we get deeper into the heart of winter, going into February, with the transition be predominantly more of an Enso neutral by then, I do feel with the jet stream lowering, with more Arctic air coming back into play, we could be talking about more snow potential further south as well. This is something I'm going to be highlighting in my next video with the polar vortex coming back in January. So stay tuned for that. So let's take a look at the overall rainfall totals between now and just the next 7 days, right? These are serious totals coming in out west. I mean, some of these areas at 6 to 8 inches, some of these areas along the coast, we're talking possibly double digits. And in the mountain regions, we're at 15 inches of precipitation. And most of that is all of that. It's going to be forming in the fall of snow and the higher elevation, 75 feet or up. That's going to be some 10, 12 foot snowfall totals just in the next 7 days. And then along the coast here into the deep south, those could be significant as well. You could be picking up 3 to 5 inches just in the next 5 days. But then that second system comes in for next week as well. We'll be adding to these totals as well. So looking at the map across the US, there's a lot of rainfall, with the only dry slot and the midsections of the country. And the wind is going to be a culprit as well. So with this system, these multiple systems coming in, expect a windy week ahead going for the next 7 days for sure. And then with the ice storm coming in, the initiation where that cold front is, where the deformation zone is, that's where we could be picking up some icy setups with into Nebraska, into Iowa, through portions of the Dakotas, but especially into portions of Minnesota. And there's your snowfall. This is the blend. So easily with this swath on the northwest side of there, again, there's not much Arctic air, but it's still cold enough in these areas. There could be going to be snowing just in the northwest side of there, complements of that cold core with that low pressure center. 3 to 5 is definitely not out of the question. Some of these areas in pink, easily 6 to 8 inches. But once you head towards the mountains, we're talking feet of snow, and even obviously higher amounts as we creep out west in the Intermountain West, and then it just gets crazy over the Sierra Nevada here with multiple feet of snow, if not 10 feet of snow, right? I mean, it just gets insanely amount. So all the rain hitting the coast and then all the snow hitting the mountain regions, that is a lot of water coming for the West Coast for the next 7 to 10 days. So, hey, I appreciate you guys watching. Do like this video. Follow me on Instagram. Follow me on Twitter as well as Facebook. I definitely update on there as well. And stay tuned for the next update while I protect you for and after the storm.